to know that you can't sleep till I get home. It's colder than you think, so hold me tight. The games we've played as children often replicate in adolescence. Years on, you spin me round and round. We're dazzled by this notion that we're blinded by pure devotion. It's hard for them, it's easy for us. For you, ooh, you'll be there when I get home. And you, ooh, you'll hold my hand until I go. You'll never be alone, as far as I can tell. So hold me close, and don't forget me. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Oh, you, ooh, you'll be there when I get home. And you, ooh, you'll hold my hand until I go. You'll never be alone, as far as I can tell. So hold me close, don't forget me. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Don't forget me. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Don't forget me. 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 Don't forget me.
Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at, with shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. That is a line from one of my favourite poems, The Charge of the Light Brigade. The context of that poem is a miscommunication and poor leadership in the Crimean War, in which 600 British soldiers charged, knowing their fate, knowing the odds were against them. Still they rode, and yet they all perished. This is a very strong metaphor, but the task which faces Manchester City is of a similar level, in my opinion, as we are going to discuss in this stream. That is the level of the hill. That is the incline of the hill which we now face, as we'll get into, in respect of whether City can win this title race, win this title in this race. Hence, the title of the stream is Into the Jaws of Death, because that is now what City must face. We're going to be talking about the game itself. What were the tactics deployed? Did we think Pep got it right in terms of the tactics? Do we think Pep got it right in terms of the substitutions? What does it mean for Arsenal, City, and Liverpool in the title race? I want to discuss all of those things and more. I was going to do a stream this morning, but then I felt like I needed a bit more time to think about the game and think about the context of it. So hence I saved it for the evening. Also, after the stream, we'll be going straight to LB's channel, so make sure to stick around. You will be redirected. Let's get some comments in the chat, though, guys. Remember, this is an interactive show. I want to get you guys involved. Terrell said, God bless. Shout out to you. We need refreshment in our squad, says Ranvi. Hello, Musty. Absolute fraud. Oren, love you too, mate. Linny says, Nobbins, are you pissed? We'll get into that. League's finished, says Musty. It's gone. Mohammed says, we've been so stale this season. No spark. Brilliant. Desperately need a creative midfielder, says René Descartes. I think, therefore I am. Cannot continue to rely on De Bruyne. Lane says, of course we can still win it. Greg just says Nobbins. And John says, big up. Didn't feel confident 2 weeks ago, and after yesterday, it's just hope at this stage. I've accepted we're not going to win it. And love from India. Yeah. Now, before we even start, before we talk about like the ramifications on the title journey, or should we maybe start with the ramifications and then go into the game, or go into the game and then the title ramifications? I think we can maybe do them both at the same time. Let's look at the game from a City perspective first of all. And the starting 11, was the team correct, etc. Given our injury situation, I thought that was basically the perfect team. That was the starting 10 outfield players that I put out. The only difference was I thought Ederson was going to be fit because he was in training. So in terms of, outside of the goalkeeper, Ederson, who would have started if he was fit, the team that played and started was the team I thought was going to start. I thought that Pep got it right for the majority of the game. As I say, in terms of the lineup, people have looked at that Arsenal performance and gone, they were, and we'll get into Arsenal, and said that Arsenal wanted to, all they wanted to do was defend the edge of their box and I don't think that's correct, because there were a number of occasions where Arsenal tried to press us high, but like Ødegaard, for example, massively tried to like press us high whenever Ortega had a goal kick. But what Pep did, which is very interesting, never seen it done before. Kovacic played as a left-sided centre-back in like that first phase of the build-up. I think the fact why we did that's probably twofold. One, because Kovacic is probably one of our most secure on-ball players. I know we actually lost it a couple of times yesterday, but in general, he's one of our most secure on-ball players. So it means that it's harder for Arsenal to press us because we've got a more competent on-ball player at the back. And I think it's also because Ortega was in net, and Ortega's clearly not as comfortable doing that compared to Ederson. So Ortega needed a little bit more support. He needed someone more assured on the ball near him and like almost holding his hand. And that worked. And this is what I mean about that. Basically took Arsenal's press out of the game for the most part. Our wide players pinned Arsenal's wingers back. You see how deep Gabriel Jesus was, for example, and Trossard/Martinelli when they were on the pitch. They were incredibly deep because they had to be deep because, again, our wide player starting positions were so high. Gvardiol and Bernardo, they were pushing them back. So I think that Pep... So I don't think Arsenal and Arteta would have wanted to play that deep. You don't really want to be giving a team of like Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne that much space and time on the ball. But ultimately, City weren't able to really capitalise on it. So I do think that tactically, Pep got the better of Arteta in that respect. Again, it worked. Like, outside of like Kovacic and Gvardiol making a couple of silly errors, for the most part, Kovacic playing as a centre-back, it worked. It was fine. Gvardiol out wide, Bernardo out wide, it worked. Arsenal, they came forward and threatened a couple of times, but nowhere near as much as they would have wanted to. Sometimes Arsenal were defending with a back six. And again, I don't think that was by design. There's no way Arteta would have coached that in the week and gone, right, guys, we're going to play a 6-3-1 formation. There's no way that would have been the design, but it was forced upon by City. So I thought City did well there. Obviously, Arsenal did very well from a defensive standpoint. I think we've got to give Arsenal their flowers. We will be talking about, like, the Arsenal side of things. Was it the correct approach from them? Was it a must-win game for them, etc.? But yeah, obviously, credit to Arsenal defensively. Thought they were very, what's the term? Rigid, but in a good way. Solid defensively. Declan Rice, a couple of really good tackles, for example. That being said, there were still spaces for City to exploit, I feel like. That game has definitely told me that in the summer we must get an offensive left-back. Because Gvardiol, who I thought was man of the match, had so much space and time on the ball out there, and he was very pretty in what he was doing, and he was very controlled and lovely. But ultimately, Arsenal are happy for a centre-back to be in the left wing spot. And as good as Gvardiol is, a crosser he is not. Again, he is a centre-back at the end of the day. We need someone... Thank you so much, Second City saying that's a huge super chat. Thank you so much for the tip. You're a really kind, generous person. Don't worry, guys. I will get into all your comments in a moment. When will Pep's dodgy tactics be mentioned? Also, Horn in big games wise, he always goes, "Don't worry, don't worry. We're currently discussing the tactics. We'll get into Haaland as well, who I personally think has had a lot of unnecessary criticism from that game. But again, we will get into that. Thank you so much, Second City Saint, for your super chat. Genuinely means the world. That's incredibly generous of you. And you activated the Ronaldo shoe thing. Thank you so much. Yes. So, yes, Arsenal very good defensively, obviously. Again, that being said, there were still areas to exploit. If we've got a proper left back there, as you know, like someone like Alphonso Davies, DeMarco, Theo Hernandez, that sort of mold of player who is also still defensively secure, but can offer that threat going forwards. That's what we'll be looking for in the summer. I'm very convinced of that. The more I think about the summer, and maybe I'll do like a whole stream about this, the more I think about last summer's window, the more I think it was sort of geared towards this sort of setup, potentially. Other disappointing things. Will I get into my thoughts on Pep? No, maybe we'll talk about Arsenal first of all. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say in the chat, because there's been a lot of discourse about it. I know Rory, Arsenal Rory, for example, we did a show earlier today. He's very happy with the points, for example. I don't think a draw was enough for Arsenal, personally. And I do think Arsenal played for the draw. I'm not saying that they, I'm not saying that they set up to be in a back six all game, because they clearly didn't. But they were clearly playing for the draw. Arteta clearly coached a draw. You could just, by virtue of the fact that the amount of time wasting that was going on with Arsenal players. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I'm just saying it was a thing. Like Raya literally got booked for time wasting. So they were more than content with the draw. And again, I think that the game plan was clearly to play for a draw. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean you're going to forfeit every single attack opportunity. It doesn't mean that, you'll try to counterattack when you can. But they were clearly happy with a draw. And again, I personally think that's a bit confusing, because, in fact, let me just, oh no, I think I can remember it. There was like an Opta, percentage chance. I know Opta's obviously not going to be exactly right with it, because it's a prediction at the end of the day. But if you look at the remaining 9 games that, City, Arsenal, Liverpool have, I think basically everyone would say that Arsenal have got the trickiest run, certainly on paper. Whereas you might say Liverpool maybe the slightly easier one. And then you've also got to bear in mind the fact that neither of these teams now play each other. And also that Liverpool are top of the table. It might only be a point or 2, however much it is. But that matters a lot when there's only 9 games left. So for me, I think that I described City as this is a must-win. And I described Arsenal as a must-win. Because unless something bizarre happens, you would expect Liverpool to pick up more points than Arsenal from this point forwards. And Arsenal don't have a chance to play Liverpool now. Now, obviously, things can happen, but if we look at the fixtures on paper, Arsenal clearly have the trickier fixtures compared to Liverpool. So I can't see Liverpool dropping more points than Arsenal. Certainly not enough to overturn that deficit. So for me, I was a little bit confused that Arsenal didn't... I'm not saying they should have gone for it, because that would have been stupid, but a little bit surprised they didn't try to alter the dynamics a little bit more. People online said that it was a boring game, but hey, it was interesting tactically. I don't agree. And I love tactics. You guys know how much I love tactics. I watched that game, and I couldn't see anything interesting happening from a tactical perspective, or like a chess match sort of thing. I just thought it was quite boring, risk-averse football from both sides. I'm not saying that they both should have been popping off and trying to go for it gun for gun like a basketball game. But my view, again, was that Arsenal probably needed to win the game. So I'm a bit surprised that more risks weren't taken, again, by either side, because I thought City should have also won it. Arteta clearly disagrees, because he coached a draw. Nothing wrong with that. I just wonder, at the end of the season, if they lose the title by a point or 2, that will come to haunt them. Conversely, if they win the league by a point, everyone will be looking at this as a masterclass. I just personally don't know if I see that. So for me, it was a must-win for Arsenal. They didn't win it. It was a must-win for City, obviously. We didn't win it. In my opinion, the title race is now Liverpool's to lose. Not only are they ahead of both sides, they have a superior goal difference to City. No, they don't have quite as good as one as Arsenal do yet. They play Sheffield United next. That could be like, genuinely, guys, that could be like 8-0, 9-0. Sheffield United have held like 5 to Brighton in like the past couple of weeks, and like, what was it, 4 or 5 to Villa or Newcastle. It's a 6 to Arsenal at home in Sheffield. This is at Anfield. That's going to be a battering. So the goal difference swing is probably going to be in Liverpool's favour come the end of this week. So Liverpool might even have a better goal difference. They're already ahead in the table. They've also got an easier run. That's why I was a little bit confused at how passive and risk-averse Arsenal were in particular. Again, not having to go at them defending. I think they're perfectly within their right to do that. But I just thought, given that context, and my opinion, because again, my opinion is they will not get as many points as Liverpool from now to the end of the season. There was also like, I think I mentioned like an Opta thing, predictions. Arsenal's percentage chance of winning before this game was 18, I think it was 19%. It's still 19%, but there's obviously one game less. I think like Liverpool were at what City were at before the Anfield game. So obviously the title is now Liverpool's to lose from that perspective. I thought it was a weird way. I thought it was a really weird game, to be honest. I want to just go back to the comments, and then I'll get into sort of like the main issues from a City perspective. Let's just have a look at a few of these comments. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please make sure to leave a like on the video. This is how the channel grows. This is my full-time job, so if you could leave a like for free, that helps me continue. That gets me food, basically. That allows me to pay my mortgage. So thank you guys so much for your support. City fumble not by McAllister, says Oren. Maybe I think I probably want to do a whole transfer stream at some point. Haaland didn't go, so yeah, we'll get into Haaland. I don't. Some of the discourse on Erling Haaland by Roy Keane, especially, I thought was like pathetic, asking for a soundbite. Basically, DeMar could be different. Gravy's been sensational, 100%. Josh, my only question mark with him is he's more of a wing back than a full back. Hello IFL. Why are Arsenal being praised for parking the bus, but City defending counter-attacks? Yeah, well, exactly. And look, as much as we'll talk about City's bluntness in attack or whatever, City were equally as good as Arsenal defensively. Arsenal had no big chances in the game. And this is why it's confused me. People say that Arsenal had the better chances. Unless I'm like being massively blinded by bias and memory fog, I can't remember them having even like a half chance. I think the best one was probably there was a Jesus shot from outside the box, and that was like a best. That's like a best a half chance, and then you bear in mind who's taken the shot. So I don't even know if I agree with that. We apparently had two big chances in that game. Arsenal's best shot, on paper, was the Havertz one where he slid in to get into Ortega, but Ortega was always going to win that battle anyway. So again, that's a non-point for me. So I don't know. I can't remember the Community Shield stats, but certainly in the league, Arsenal didn't actually have a big chance against us. Their goal was a deflected one. So I appreciate that, when City drop points, the onus will always be on praising the opposition. I understand that. But yeah, I think that's a fair enough point. Like, City were also good defensively. We were very good at snuffing out their counters. Our rest defense was pretty optimal. A couple of times Gvardio Kovacic gave away the ball. But outside of that, very, very little threat from Arsenal, in my opinion. I think Arteta is a genius, says Oren. Fair enough. Arsenal need to make a statement, put the league on notice, and then... But they're well within their right to do that. That is the issue. Should go through the next 5 fixtures. Maybe we'll do that at the end, Josh. That's maybe a good idea to do, yeah. Why are we not streaming yesterday? Do you have a problem? I was at the game, Cully, yeah. So if it's a Premier League home game, I'm at the game. So, for example, there won't be a stream on Wednesday for Villa. I will be at the Etihad. Grio's boring, scared match, no risks taken, 100% here to there. By either side, to be fair, by either side. What the hell? Hello, Matata. What do you attribute his poor attack to this season? Yeah, we'll get into that, Matt. I think that's a whole section in its own right. A Trossard weak foot shot. Trossard break. Yeah, there was the potential for a chance, but it didn't actually materialise in a chance, did it? And if that's what we're talking about as like the best... chance in like the dying embers of a game, I'm not sure how much we can really be applauding either side's offensive play, in all honesty. And again, I think it was IFL said, shouldn't we also be looking at City's defensive display? And yeah, Gvardio, man of the match. I thought I can't remember Saka doing anything, and like lots of people were saying that Gvardio's going to get skinned. I thought it was fantastic. Again, apart from losing the ball a couple of times, defensively, I can't remember him doing anything wrong 1v1 against Saka. As far as I can remember, he won every single one of those individual battles. So there we go. Thank you so much. Hey, there's Evie. That's a nice little alert. Again, Second City Saint, this is very generous of you. Do make sure that you're looking after yourself, though, before you send me any more super chats. But thank you so much for your generosity. Will Pep get sacked if we don't win any major silverware? I hope he does. Oh, gosh, okay. I think he's been found out. I'm not sure about that one, Second City Saint, to be honest with you. No, he's definitely not going to get sacked. Even though, in my opinion, if we don't win the title of the season, it is mainly on Pep. But that's not the same as he's a bad manager. He's still the greatest coach ever. And no. What do you think about Haaland? Yeah, we'll get onto Haaland as well. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. We'll put too much pressure on the team. Going 15 games, winning everyone. It's not human. We have to be realistic, says Daniel. I think I am always realistic, to be fair. Yeah, Pep has never got sacked. I doubt he ever will get sacked in the near future. Anyway, yeah, so guys, let's now touch on sort of like maybe City's offensive woes this season. Maybe more so in this game, because actually in this game, yeah, let's talk about like, yeah, City's attack and whether and the coaching from Pep and the tactics, etc. As I alluded to at the start of this stream, I thought Pep got it right. I was happy with the lineup. Again, people saying that, you know, you got to play Grealish on the left to start with. That's fine, but if you do that, then you can't play Foden in the middle because Gvardiol had to go out to the left. I don't know why anyone was surprised at the idea of Gvardiol playing at left wing. That had to happen. There was no alternative because of the John Stones injury and because Walker wasn't available. So unless you want Rico Lewis to invert into midfield or Akanji to go and play the John Stones role, it had to be Gvardiol. And I was quite happy with that. And I thought he played well at the Emirates as well, in fairness. Lacked the same offensive threat, but he's a centre-back, so it's going to happen. So yes, every system has its weaknesses and strengths in that respect. Foden had to play in the middle, and he did, because the thing with Arsenal, we all knew that Arsenal were going to... We all know that Arsenal's press is very effective. We know that their mid to low block is very effective. We knew there wasn't going to be any space in the middle, to be honest. So you're either going to have to create out wide, or you're going to need very intricate little players in the pockets in the middle. That's why Foden had to play in the middle, because he is our best pocket player, our best player in between the lines, basically. That's where he's got so much joy from this season. A couple times throughout that 60 minutes he was on the pitch, he did some good work. For the most part, he was ineffective. And I'm the biggest Foden defender and lover. He was ineffective for the most part. That being said, the substitution to take him off, I thought was bizarre. I thought that was wrong, quite frankly. Now, whether him staying on the pitch would have mattered, we'll never know. But you've got to look at what is optimal and what is not optimal, I think, in these sort of battles. Is it more... And if the question is one of Foden or De Bruyne has to stay on the pitch, given the context of that game and the context of both performances, you had to keep Foden on the pitch for me. If anyone... Because De Bruyne wasn't offering anything. He had a really bad game. He was getting into some good positions out on that right-hand side. But the crosses weren't there. And Musti just said there, De Bruyne's a moment player. And I agree with that. That's why I was against taking him off at Anfield. But Foden's also a moments player. And he has been this season. And Foden was playing a lot better than De Bruyne throughout that whole game. People like to say, oh, but De Bruyne and the driving runs. The driving runs to where? They weren't doing anything. And there were a further 30 minutes where I'm sorry to sound arrogant, but I was proven correct. De Bruyne didn't do anything in the final 30 minutes. It made far more sense to keep on Foden and then take off one of De Bruyne or Bernardo. Thank you so much, Second City Saints again. De Bruyne would have thrown a fit if Pep subbed it. And maybe don't take off De Bruyne, maybe take off Bernardo. But the point is that if it's between Foden and whoever, like Foden, Bernardo, Foden, De Bruyne, given the context of that game, and given the context of, and therefore what was needed, i.e. a pocket player, and given the context of who's actually performing better, I know that we're talking about very small margins, like Foden wasn't good, but De Bruyne was worse. So, for me, that was a baffling decision. My jaw dropped when I saw his number. I couldn't believe, I was like, there's 30 minutes left. why don't we go a bit more attacking and keep our best pocket player off the pitch? Sorry, keep our best pocket player on the pitch. And we didn't. It was very unusual. I didn't understand that. I thought bringing on Grealish is good. That's fine. But for me, you had to keep Foden on. I didn't understand that one. There was Arsenal, again, they were very good defensively, but they were there to be exploited. We didn't fizz the ball into like Foden and De Bruyne often enough. Like whether it was Kovacic on the ball, even Gvardiol was guilty of this. Even Rodri was guilty of this. Moments where like they pick up the ball and it's like, right, play it into them quickly. They can take it in the pocket in the half turn, and then suddenly we're facing their goal. Just didn't happen often enough. That game was clearly set up for either, because nothing was happening out wide, as I've discussed. So the game was therefore either going to be won by a moment of magic in the pockets, which is only going to happen if Foden's on the pitch, or a shot from outside the box from someone like Rodri. And we just weren't able to construct those chances or those moments, which I thought was surprising, because we've been so good at constructing them this season. Like again, if your opposition decides to basically camp on the edge of the box, again, that's not a dig. They're well within their rights to do that. The only solution outside of going wide is to take shots. And I was surprised at how few long shots we took, because Raya, I don't know how it's pronounced. I'll call him Raya. He was shaky, and we didn't challenge him enough. He clearly didn't want it. Like the amount of like at times he kicked the ball out of play under like zero pressure. I think that had we tested him from distance frequently in that game through the long shots of De Bruyne, Foden, Rodri, I'm convinced even like a half chance probably goes in the back of the net, because he was clearly shaky in that game. So that was a disappointment from an offensive standpoint. Let's maybe talk about Haaland now, because there has been a lot of, in my opinion, wrong commentary on Haaland. Again, I'm a big defender of Haaland. If he has a bad game, I'm normally the first to say, yeah, he didn't play well. But at the same time, people have to realize what can and cannot be done given certain game states for me. And this is a good, yeah. Haaland's hold-up play was good. And his link-up play was good. I don't know what people are wanting or expecting from Haaland in these games. It was similar to the game at the Emirates. And I didn't watch that game live because I was at my sister's wedding. So I watched it the day after. I did see the discourse on Twitter, and I saw people saying Haaland had the worst game ever, and it was a nothing player, and he was terrible, and he wasn't offering anything. Yeah, he created the only big chance of the game at the Emirates, and his hold up and link up play was good. And people did that clip where Saliba bodied Haaland, and I thought it was very good defended by Saliba at the Emirates. But they didn't show the clips where Haaland out-jumped Gabriel and created the chance, or got ahead of Saliba and then played it to the midfielder, who then played it out wide, who then popped in a cross, where if it's a little bit better, Haaland's got a tap in. And again, I'm sure from the game yesterday, people will talk about that brilliant tackle that Gabriel did on Haaland, where Haaland tried to hold him off, but Gabriel just got the better of him in that moment. But they won't show the moment 5 minutes later where Ortega plays it straight to Haaland, Gabriel tries to get ahead of him, Haaland shrugs him off, wins the ball, plays it out wide, City are on the attack. They won't talk about the duels where he beat Saliba. I thought that Haaland got the better of Saliba throughout that game. Gabriel was more, I'd say, 70-30 to Gabriel, maybe 60-40 to Gabriel. But for the most part, Haaland got the better of Saliba. Again, his hold-up play was good. His link-up play was good. He didn't get any service. I don't know what people want from this man. And like Roy Keane saying, what did he say? Thank you so much for the super chat again. I hope you guys are enjoying the Dancing Evie. And the fact that people are complaining about his performance and saying that he doesn't do anything, and Roy Keane saying that he's a League 2 player in respect of like, I don't know what specifically he was talking about, but in respect of like link up or whatever. I don't know what these people are watching, and I don't know what they want from Haaland, Because again, in these big games, the question is never going to be, you know, can Haaland get a million touches and dribble past 3 defenders and do a brilliant 1v1? No. Haaland's going to get barely any chances to get in these big games because he'll get marked out of the game. So the question then becomes, how can you exploit that space? How can you use Haaland's brilliant hold up and link up play? And it is very good. Maybe brilliant's a strong word. It is very good though. People act like Haaland's this big lump, and I so push back against that. I don't know what these people are watching. Again, they want Haaland to be Aguero, and he's not him. He's not Aguero. Maybe he never will be Aguero. But just because he's not as good at link-up play as Aguero, who's one of the best, doesn't mean he wasn't good at link-up yesterday. Doesn't mean he hasn't been good this season. So yeah, I totally push back against the idea that Haaland ghosted yesterday, or dropped a stinker, or was terrible. I think that's, for me, that's very... I don't know what I think it is. I think it's... foolish, maybe is the correct word, because I just don't see it. Again, for me, if you think that Haaland was like ineffective and useless yesterday, that's fine. I personally won't agree, because again, I look at what is he offering and contributing, because it's never going to be touches. It's never going to be clear-cut chances against a team like Arsenal. It's going to be, when it comes to the 1v1s of Haaland and with Gabriel and Saliba, can you win like 50% of them? In terms of like, can you hold it up and get it away from the opposition? And for the most part, he did. Is that Sam? Hello, mate. How you doing? Yes, Charles, you are. No, I have not actually seen that back, because that was on the other end of the pitch. But yes, I agree. That air kick was awful, obviously. And that's another one as well. Yeah, yes, I totally agree. He should have done better with that big chance. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. But where's Elder's comment? Yeah, again, I don't know what people are. I don't know what people want. And that would, if anyone in the chat here thinks that Haaland was like really bad yesterday or whatever, I'm not being cheeky. I'm being genuine, because I want to have I want this to be a discussion, a conversation. What were you expecting from him, which you didn't see? I'm not being facetious. I want this to be a genuine, open floor conversation. Try to educate me. What do you think? What did you want to see? Because what I wanted to see was decent hold-up play and decent link-up play. I thought that's what I saw. So I'd like to hear what you guys would like to have seen, if you think that anyway. Weird stats for Saliba and Gabriel do us an interception. I think they are being overhyped. Again, I thought they played well. But, so, for example, the Saliba one, I'm sorry, but he got the better of him more often than not. Gabriel, I think, probably had a better time against him, but even Gabriel wasn't flawless. Again, there were a number of times where Haaland received the ball and held it up very well, and immediately you get your team all the way up the pitch. He should have been in the game. But I don't know what that means, Jason, because he can't be in the game because of how defensive Arsenal were. If Haaland is being marked out of the game, then by definition that means there's space for someone else. So the onus isn't on Haaland to be involved in the game. The onus is on Haaland to take other players out of the game, and by existing, that's what he does. That's why I personally don't understand it. Again, if it's, that's fine, but specifically why? Specifically why? Again, what is it you want to see when it comes to Haaland? Haaland's not a child who needs feeding or is absent. He's meant to be the world's best striker. But again, I don't agree he was absent, because his hold-up and link-up play was good yesterday. This is all you can really hope for against a team who just parked the bus. There's nothing wrong with what Arsenal did, by the way. Nothing wrong with it. But they did do it. And if the whole team is... I can't remember who asked it. Someone asked, how do you break down a low block? Well, in general, for me, there are two main ways to do it. You either get the better of the opponent in the pockets with like, maybe fluid rotations, in which case you need your best pocket players on the pitch, i.e. Phil Foden, maybe an Oscar Bob. In the past, David Silva. And that's how you can manipulate the defense with really interesting runs, and as I say, fluid rotation. Or more often than not, you're forced out wide, in which case you need either really good 1v1 wide specialists, or you need really good crossing from out wide. And this season we've struggled out wide because could be with the John Stones injury, we've been forced to play defensive defenders out wide. Or rather, not creative defenders out wide, i.e. Walker, Gvardiol, Rico Lewis very early in the season. Or we have had, or Jack Grealish hasn't been available for most of the season. Or Doku has been available, but it's his first season, so he's going to struggle. That's why we've struggled a lot this season. Like someone asked right at the start, why are we struggling offensively? And I think that's why. Every team does a low block against us, basically. So unless they make a mistake, your only joy is going to be out wide. And out wide, we've struggled this season because we either don't have proper wingers, or we do and they have been injured, or we do and they aren't quite ready yet. Second City, thank you so much for your super chat, Second City Saint, but this is bordering on being too generous. Just make sure that you're looking after yourself financially. The problem with Haaland is the consistency disappearing in big games. But again, I don't agree he disappeared. What do we mean by disappeared? If a striker who needs service isn't served, then they aren't going to do anything, nor can they do anything. In which case, the question becomes, right, what are you offering? If you aren't offering goals or assists because you can't, because the opposition have stifled you and you're not getting chances, what are you offering? Well, are you offering brilliant hold-up? Are you offering like hold-up play, so like to evade the opposition press? Yes, he did that yesterday. Are you offering link-up play whereby you receive the ball under pressure and then you can play it out to a wide player or a midfielder who can then go to a wide player? Yes. Are you occupying one, maybe two opposition players, in which case you are creating space for your teammates of which they can exploit? He did that as well. So I'm not having that. No one yet has been able to offer me an actual like valid criticism of Haaland so far, because the criticism is people are asking him to do something of which he is not, or they're asking him to do something which he can't do, or they're asking him to do something which isn't even his burden. So I don't quite understand it personally. By the way, guys, we've got over 100 people watching, which is really cool. Over 150, in fact. Please make sure to leave a like on the video. It would massively help. Let's get into some comments now. Walker was badly missed. I don't agree, Charles. I think he's been one of our worst players this season, to be honest, mate. I love your profile picture, by the way. Alvarez is clear of Haaland, but why? Why? The better question is, what would Alvarez offer that's different as a striker? And that's the thing, I don't think he would offer anything else. I'm not being funny, but people look at Alvarez and think, well, he's smaller, therefore he's better on the ball. He's not. He's not. Haaland is a better passer and better at hold-up and link-up play. People have this idea that if a striker's under 6 foot, they're therefore more complete than a striker over 6 foot. And I totally push back against that. I think Haaland's more technical player than Alvarez is in nearly every single department outside of like off-ball pressing, which is still very important. But yeah, and for me, it's also a non-question. It's also a non-factor anyway, because it's not like what's this player offering? This player could offer us something a bit more. The alternative is not as good. So it's not even really a contentious point. It's not like Walker versus Akanji, where, in my opinion, Walker is a net negative, whereas Akanji is good. But there's a better option on the bench. There isn't a better option. Alvarez's first touch has improved at the start of the season, and they went back to normal. Yeah, and again, like, Alvarez's first... Again, people say, oh yeah, his link-up and hold-up play is great. It's not. His first touch isn't better than Haaland's. His passing isn't as good as Haaland's. His off-ball running isn't better than Haaland's. His positioning and movement isn't better. His strength for link-up hold-up play isn't better. The only thing Alvarez, I think, does better than Haaland is pressing, which, again, is very impressive and very good. But it's not... That wouldn't have helped yesterday. It wouldn't have helped. So I just don't really... Again, I don't know what people want in that respect, or what they want is something which doesn't exist. Stop lying. If you guys think I'm lying, that's fine, but I've watched every single City game this season. I know the difference between Haaland and Alvarez. Again, people mistakenly think Haaland is this lump who all he can do is score tap-ins. If that's your starting point of your assessment of what Haaland is as a footballer, I actually don't know what to say. I don't think that we're watching the same sport like this. It's from Septic. Technically, Haaland is so poor. No, he's not. I don't know what sport you're watching. That's just not true. He's actually quite good technically, particularly for a player of his size and association with apparently being terrible technically. It's a very odd. As I say, it's a very odd opinion that people hold, which I just totally disagree with. In low block, you dribble to force fouls. We needed Bernardo was the only player after Foden was hooked. Yeah, and again, this is why I thought that Foden should have stayed on the pitch. Did he have a good 60 minutes? No. It was probably and in fact, it was his worst 60 minutes from midfield. I'm not going to make the position excuse for him because he played in midfield yesterday, coming from the left. So I'm not going to make that excuse for him. But that being said, I still thought he was one of our better. If we're saying our attackers, we know Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden, like our main attackers. I think he was the best, arguably the best out of those three. Now, whether he was very good, no, but he was still better. So I thought he should have stayed on the pitch. If you guys want to say him in denial, that's fine. But I will question what you are watching compared to me. Again. Next time you watch like a big game, maybe like the Real Madrid one, for example, don't look at Haaland and go. Don't look at it and don't try to look for what you think he should be offering. Look at what he is offering and try to think, why is he offering that? What is he actually doing? And again, think about those key concepts, i.e., the space creation for others, the hold-up play, the link-up play, just being a threat by existing, being a magnet, being a gravitational force which pulls in opposition defenders, thereby allowing more space for others. Or think about how if we're under pressure, you can just pop the ball up to him. So if people think that he doesn't offer anything, I genuinely question, without wishing to sound arrogant or rude, your understanding of what it means to be a striker. To be honest, I apologize if that sounds arrogant. But that's the only conclusion I can think of, to be honest. He got marked out of the game, 0 shots on target. But again, Elliot, this isn't. I don't know how many more times I can repeat the point. In these big games, the question isn't going to be how many touches, how many shots can Haaland get off, because he's not going to get that space. The question is, what else is he doing? Again, is he holding up the play well? Yes. What does that mean? Well, it means that he's first of all getting his teammates out of a tricky high press, and it also means that you are getting your team up the pitch quickly and effectively and safely, and it means that you're constructing attacks. Constructing attacks. Same with link-up play. That's what he does. That's what he's offering. And if and when the service comes, then you would like to think that he would be able to do it. Outside of like an air ball, which I can't really remember, which I think was from a set piece, I can't remember him getting any chances. So I just personally don't see it, to be honest. He's not had a good season from a finishing perspective. But if people are looking at that game yesterday and going, Haaland was the reason why we lost, I don't know. You're arrogant since you think you only watch the game if you can't find space. No. It's not can Haaland find space. It's Haaland's existence creates space for others in which they need to exploit. That's the point. It's not Haaland's responsibility to find space, even though he did yesterday. His runs were just not found. The responsibility in those big clashes is, can you create space for others? And he did. Sometimes in football, you need to look for what isn't exploited rather than what is. That's the difference. So if a pass doesn't come through, unless you're looking for it to come, you won't realise it hasn't come. But the more football you watch, you'll realise, well, that pass should have come in there, and then you can figure out what Haaland's offering. That's my thought on it. I'm going to move on from the Haaland conversation because I think that I've said everything I can on that, and I apologise if you don't understand. If you don't, that's fine, but I don't know how much more I can... I don't know how much more I can touch on it without being really, really repetitive. Look at that. Nabinho Ultra form up. Thank you so much, Liam. You lovely, lovely man. We're going to be live for another 15 minutes, guys. So if you've got any more questions on the game, this has been incredibly generous from the super chats, guys. Thank you so much. Again, make sure you're looking after yourself before you super chat to your favourite YouTubers. But really, thank you so much for the generosity. Arsenal have the best defence in the league. It also seemed like they were playing not to lose, stay very defensive. A tie is better for them. And of course it will be. And maybe this is... shall we maybe talk about more... I guess we talked about the context of the title race, but we can do it again, I suppose. And it was an interesting thought, which again, like our Arsenal fan Rory put forward in our show we did earlier today, and he quite rightly said that, you know, Klopp's never got 6 points from Pep. Pep's never got 6 points from Arteta, from vice versa, etc. My thing with that, and again, you could also look at this and go, well, if City don't win the title this season, it won't be because of this game, it'll be because of all the other games. And yes, that's correct. However, you have to... That's with hindsight. That's at the end of a season. At the end, if and in my opinion, when City don't win the title this season, we'll look at that period, you know, the Spurs draw, the Chelsea draw, the Liverpool draw, the Palace draw, the Villa defeat, that weird period, sort of like November, December. That'll be the period, and we'll look at it in hindsight and go, that was the period where we didn't win the title. But that's with the value of hindsight. In the now, you can right those wrongs. We could have righted that wrong by winning at Anfield against a not full strength Liverpool side. We could have righted that wrong by winning yesterday. And it's a similar thing with Arsenal. Again, Rory quite right. You know, we shouldn't be expected to win at the Etihad. But you do have to look at the context of the title race and the remaining fixtures, which I think we did at the start of the show. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think either sides... I'm not having to go in any individuals here. I don't think either side's attack were particularly good. I didn't think Ødegaard was particularly good. Havertz was a bit of a threat. But Saka, disappointing. I forgot Martinelli came on. He only stayed on the right, which is interesting. Doku came on. I think the Doku substitution was correct, by the way. I think he should have come on at some... I think he should have come on like the last 10 minutes. But it's the story of Doku's season. His first season, by the way, so we do need to back off a bit. It's not his fault that he's, picked all the time, etc. But yeah, he was penetrative and created some decent ideas. But it's, as has been the case this season, it's the final ball, it's the final pass, the final decision, the final shot. That will improve with time. Of course it will. But as of right now, that's why he didn't do particularly well when he came on. I don't see his end product, and that's the thing, Sammy. It will come. It will come. It just hasn't arrived yet. I think it will. Again, no one in this chat. Don't worry. Okay, I'll pin this at Mad Hatter just so I remember. No one in this chat can name one winger under Guardiola who performed to the level you would have hoped they would perform in their first season. None. You can't name one. If anyone wants to try, do it. But you can't. Not Sterling, not Sane, not Bernardo Silva, not Mahrez, not Doku, not even Cancelo, if you want to include him, because sometimes he played out wide. None of them performed to how you would have expected them to. None of them. Nolito, Ferran Torres, no. Nolito. Nolito's an outlier because he was only here for like one season. Grealish again. Ferran Torres, no, he was playing much better in his second season. and then he left partway through anyway. Mahrez struggled in his first season, wasn't particularly good. Grealish, infamously, was still good, but struggled in his first season compared to the second season. Raheem Sterling, again. Leroy Sane, fine, but then next season won young player of the year. No, wingers. I'm saying Sun Tzu, wingers. I'm not saying Sane was bad, but he was fine, and then his second season he won young player of the year. Bernardo Silva was fine in his first season, and then won Etihad player of the year. You can't name a single City winger under Pep who's performed as you would have hoped to in their first season compared to their second. And it'll be the same situation with Doku. That's how it works at City. It's a second season syndrome in respect of our wide players. It takes a long time to get used to Pep's system, and it will take a long time for Pep's players to get used to Doku, and vice versa. It will come. It's just been a shame that we've had to play him so much this season, and maybe, as I say, maybe like next week we'll do like a stream on like the woes of this transfer window and what needs to be addressed. Mad Hatter says, what about Pep tactics this season? How much that contributes to our poor form, etc. We've got over 200 people in here. Guys, please make sure to leave a like on the stream. This is fantastic. We've not even done this with a redirect. This has been fantastic on this channel. Thank you for helping us to grow. Again, this is my full-time job. There's baby me telling you to like the video. Like the video. Shout out to everyone here. I love to have a conversation with you guys. We'll do another touchline talk Wednesday morning. Yeah, what about Pep's tactics this season? Asks Mad Hatter. How much has it contributed to the poor form? And maybe this is where we'll like wrap it up, because I want to head off in like the next 10 minutes. Want us to be ending at 8 because I'm going to be on LB's channel at 8. This stream will redirect you there. Pep got it right yesterday. As I say, in terms of the tactics, I disagree with the Foden substitution, etc. But for the most part, I thought he got the tactics right. But he, in my opinion, has got it wrong for a lot of this season. And people want to talk about, you know, like I've seen lots of people say I play favourites. I personally want to agree with that. I think I'm quite objective. That's fine. Guys, I love this man, okay? I think he's the best coach in football history. I would make a very strong case to say he's the best manager in Premier League history. The things he's done for this club is unbelievable. There is no one like him in the world. Yeah? He's in a tier. People want to put Klopp in the same tier as Pep. I won't agree. Pep's in his own tier, quite frankly. This man is a genius, yes? However, even a monkey can fall from a tree. And now I'm Pep as well. Even a monkey can fall from a tree. Yeah? Even experts can get it wrong sometimes. And sure, was the transfer window optimal for Pep? No. Have there been injuries this season for Pep? Yes. However, were there opportunities to not play a striker in midfield throughout the majority of the season, and certainly when it mattered most? Yes. Did that decision contribute to some negative results for us? In my opinion, yes. Has a defender who can't provide anything going forward and is now a defensive liability become one of our main men this season? Yes. Was that a necessity? No, because Akanji existed there. Has Phil Foden been our best player? You might not agree. You might think it's Rodri, but we can certainly agree he's been top 2, hopefully. In my opinion, Foden's been the best player. Have his best performances this season come from midfield? Yes. Has he been played almost exclusively in midfield? No. Has he been shunted out wide in nearly half of the starts this season? Yes. Is that optimal? No. Whose fault is that? Pep's. If we don't win the title this season, it is all on Pep. Well, no, it's not all on Pep. It's a bit harsh. It's primarily on Pep. In the same way that when we won the treble last season, it was all on Pep. And I give him his plaudits, obviously. And I just gave my big spiel about how much I love this man. But again, I can't just ignore what are, in my opinion, blunders from a tactical perspective. Of course, transfers could have been better. Of course, injuries are a thing. But you have to. I can't ignore these, in my opinion, weird decisions. I'll repeat them again. Walker being one of our main men. Alvarez getting far too many minutes in midfield when he didn't need to. Foden not getting enough minutes in midfield when he needed to. Outside of the Arsenal and United games at home, I think we've set up wrong in every single big game this season in terms of our starting 11. I can't ignore that. And again, people go, again, context of injuries, context of transfers, that's fine. But I hold this man to very high standards. Obviously, again, I just told you how much I love him. I think he's the best manager ever. And again, even a monkey falls from a tree. Even a monkey can fall from a tree. An expert isn't exempt from criticism. Yes, of course he knows more than me. But I'd be lying to you if I said that I agreed with every single thing he's done this season. Just because he's an expert doesn't mean I have to agree every single time. I think there are problems which just weren't being addressed. So, for me, I don't think we win. I don't think we win the title. Hello, Herman. Love this from you. Respect you the most unbiased objective fan from an Arsenal fan. Love that from you, Herman. How do you see the Arsenal City matchup in the Champions League? I imagine it'll be very, very similar, to be honest, Herman. It'll be a repeat of what we saw. If both sides get through, it will be a repeat of what we saw yesterday. Neither side wanting to overly commit, neither side wanting to lose the game, trying to nick it with a like a last-ditch winner or a deflected effort, or Arsenal from a set piece. Arsenal got a lot of joy from set pieces this season. Like, imagine if like Arsenal got a set piece goal yesterday, like it would have been like, it's GG, it's game over. And Sound Zoo, is my mouse died? I love it when my mouse dies on a fucking live stream. These are a few of my favourite things. Because there's another super chat I just want to have highlighted on the screen. There we go. From Sound Zoo, who's from Canada. Confidence percentage in retaining the league. City have to win all their games, I think. And Liverpool need to draw twice or lose once, and there'd be a big goal difference swing. Yeah, if you guys want to get your percentages in, I'd be very interested to hear that. 20% for Succulent, 10% for Mohammed, 32, very specific, 30 to 40, 10%. If it was one team, because that's the thing as well, guys. If there was one other team that we were challenging, let's say Arsenal didn't exist, or Liverpool didn't exist, and we were only 3 points behind them, 4 points behind them, whatever, I can definitely see one team dropping that many points. Two, I don't see it. The absolute maximum I can give us is 10%. And that's a maximum. For me, I'm basically done in terms of the Premier League. From my perspective, my hope has gone. I'm not optimistic. I'm not hopeful. I think that if we do click, it's too little too late. This is why I title this stream Into the Jaws of Death. The challenge that we face is similar to that of the Light Brigade. Tense harsh as musty, and maybe it is, but I remember when we first started doing these post-mortems, the Chelsea one was the first one, and I remember like in the comments or in the chat, like people, I spoke with the same amount of lack of certainty, and it just aside from a couple of upward trends, it was the same. So I feel like I've been proven correct in that respect. I didn't want to be, but I feel like I have. I can't see Liverpool dropping 4 points. Again, let's have a look at the table. For argument's sake, we can assume there's a goal difference swing. Do Liverpool drop 3 points more than City in the last 9 games? Again, it's not just Liverpool, it's also Arsenal. It's not just Arsenal, it's also City winning all of those games or doing better than them. They've got to win at least 8. At least 8, and then hope that you draw the last one, so you drop 2 points, in which case you need Liverpool to drop like 6 points. Look, never say never. It could happen, but if you're asking me to be really realistic and like unbiased, my head tells me we don't win this league. My head tells me that we don't win this league by 2 to 3 points. And we've got no one else to blame but ourselves. To be honest with you, that sounds very harsh and blunt, but I don't know what else to say. Yeah, for me, we've got... this is Liverpool's titles to lose. I think Liverpool win this title from here on out. I think City come second, maybe. I can see Arsenal dropping more. I can see Arsenal dropping more points than us from now until the end of the season. And if they drop points in one game more than us, by definition, we will go ahead of them because you can't drop 1 point. You can only drop 2 or 3. So I can see us finishing second. I can't see the Liverpool angle, though. I don't see that. Again, we might even win all of our games. Is there going to be a big goal difference swing? And are Liverpool going to either lose when they've only lost twice this season, or are they going to draw twice? I don't see it. I really hope I'm proven wrong. I really hope I'm proven wrong. But I am running out of hope, to be honest. And I like to think I'm normally quite optimistic, still being realistic. But yeah, I don't know. It probably will go down to the last day. I can see it being that, you know, City are second on the last day, you know, 2 points behind Liverpool, and we need them to draw or lose. Maybe the goal difference is similar, and then that's the end of that. That's my take on it, though. Look, my heart says... Wait, Liam, what was your super chat? Oh, I didn't see it. I'm sorry, mate. I thought I did it. No, I definitely did it. I did it earlier, didn't I? I'm sorry if I missed it, Liam. Can you repeat the message and I'll put it on the screen, Liam? Yeah, look, my heart says that City are capable of anything, and Arsenal bottled it last season, and this Liverpool side they're walking a tightrope at times. But my head says that Liverpool have been walking that tightrope all season, and it's been irrelevant. My head tells me that Arsenal are much stronger mentally. My head tells me that City are not good enough this season. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. I'm going to now end the stream. Stay here because this is going to redirect you to LB's channel, where we are going to discuss the game and more. I don't know exactly what we're going to discuss, but it's going to be brilliant. LBin's show. So I'm going to end the stream now. Make sure to stick around, as I say, because it's going to take you straight to LB's channel. Before you leave my channel, leave a like on the video. If you haven't already subscribed, what you're doing, you little fraudulent frauds. Massive shout out to everyone who super chatted today. In the future, I'll try to get a list so I can give you a proper shout out at the end. I'm going to go on LBins now. Guys, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you in a few minutes on LB's channel. Goodbye, guys. Come on, City. Come on, City.